Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? If you are watching this live, welcome to the week and welcome to a big week for me, book launch week. And if you're watching this on the recording, either here on LinkedIn or on YouTube or Facebook, welcome. Hope you're having a great day, night, morning, afternoon, evening, tea time, whatever it is. We've been having a lot of great conversations to help you supercharge your networking as we get towards the launch of two new editions, Networking in the 21st Century and Networking in the 21st Century on LinkedIn. Those are coming on Thursday, September 30th, which is this week. I couldn't think of a better person to kick off such a big, momentous week than my friend Erich. Erich, how are you?
I'm doing well, D-Fish. Thanks for asking. And
Erich,
congratulations on a big week for you.
thank you. Thank you very much. Gotta do some plugging. It's kind of one of those things. I mean, it's kind of like, but not quite like having a baby, where you just like you've been doing work, and then all of a sudden one day it's there.
Yeah.
uh, I'm excited to get these books out there and help some people. Uh, I could go through the list of ways that Erich is a power networker, but there are many, including running a great organization called HR Hot Seat. But Erich, I'm asking everybody, and I apologize for clapping in front of the mic for everybody listening in. Here's a question I've been asking everybody, and I know you're gonna have a great answer. What one activity has had the biggest impact on the quality of your network?
Um, for me, it's intentional service of the people that I want in that network, and that can look like a number of different
Love it.
things. And I'm happy to go into a couple of different examples, but I think for me, when I thought about the activity, it came down more to a mindset, because it's the mindset that then determines what those activities are potentially going to be. For me, one of those activities is being the reason why people are coming together. I had
Right.
spent so much time being a guest in other people's homes and other people's spaces and environments. And when I decided that I would be the reason, that I would be bringing people together to build those relationships and to truly be of service to them, things really started to change for me.
I love that. I love that. And I think we've had a lot of people sharing great ideas on how to make sure that you're going out to your network tactically the right way. Making sure we've got, the message put forth and we're talking to the right people. But I love this idea of service. What are some of the ways that this mindset manifests in how you're going out to people and how you're going out into, like, networking, a room of strangers, or even in your one-on-one conversations?
So, one of them around intentional service, anyway, is that I had to shift from showing up being painfully aware of what I needed and instead be painfully aware of what I had to give. And you hear about that a
Love that.
lot. People are saying it in so many different ways, certainly books about it, and you and I have had conversations about it as well. But as long as I was showing up saying, I needed business, I needed a client, or for some other people, I needed a job, I was missing the mark. As soon as I showed up and thinking, what is it that I have to give? And is it possible that what I have to give potentially falls outside of what I've traditionally considered to be my area of expertise, my wheelhouse? What if instead of, so for example, I'm a disc facilitator, what if instead of facilitating disc for somebody, their greatest need is simply an introduction? And that
Right.
never crossed my mind because I'm so focused on the business and clients that I'm looking for. When instead, being able to offer an introduction, which is so easy for any of us to do, that is the one thing that the person in front of me needs most, and the way that I can be of greatest value. I
I
can't even
love that.
begin to consider that until I get out of my own way and recognize that I have plenty to give that goes well beyond what I've traditionally considered to be my wheelhouse.
I love that. And that idea of getting out of your own way. One thing I think you touched on that's really important, especially right there at the end, is the idea of thinking outside of what you would traditionally think of as what you'd give in return. One thing I've always suggested to people is they get out of the mindset of looking at networking as a tit for tat, right? It's got to be a completely equal exchange. You give me a lead or a business, I have to give you that exact same thing back. Where really it works out, I found more effectively when we think of what I call networking karma, right? You're just paying it forward. So just like you said, maybe they don't need your service, but maybe there's an introduction you can make, or maybe there's an idea or an insight you can give them to their business or a situation they're working on, right? It doesn't have to be, I'm just going to give you another referral, right?
And
Um,
that,
Go ahead.
And how short sighted and presumptuous is it for any of us to show up saying, I know what you need already? You know, we've not even met, we've never had a conversation, but I know what D-Fish needs, so I'm in the best place to give you that. Instead, if I ask you and I listen to your story and I'm curious and I have you dig in deeper into the challenges that you face, suddenly it occurs to me that the thing that you need most right now is something that I've never considered. And I can still do that for you. But had I been the one to make to presume what you needed, I would have missed the boat entirely.
Well, and I love that idea of just listening to people. One suggestion I often make is that we think we have to give to our networking partner, sometimes often something very tangible, business, or even that introduction. I think a lot of the times that I feel I've actually made some of the best connections with somebody that maybe later result in business happening, or maybe not. It's just being there and listening to them. Like we kind of forget how rarely somebody just asks, hey, what's going on in your business? What are you excited about? What are you challenged by? And then paying attention, right? And then just sharing that space with people.
Whenever I'm bringing people together these days, and I learned this early in the pandemic, if I'm hosting something on Zoom, I'm doing something with HR Hot Seat, the networking community that I run, somewhere in my registration form, I ask the question, what is your greatest need right now? Because I know there are certain things that I'm naturally going to be able to do and want to do for folks, and we'll do that during our time together. But then I go through those responses afterwards, or maybe even beforehand, to see if I can add value to the event. And sometimes I'm surprised by how simple some of the things are that not simple in terms of, how do I say this? How easy it is for me to help in ways that I would never have considered.
Absolutely. Like for that person, that might be like, I don't know anybody who supplies X or who has
Yeah.
solves this kind of challenge. And you're like, oh, yeah, I just talked to somebody who does that a week ago.
Right.
Right. You have that. I think in some ways it's the idea of access. I mean, there's a lot of great research. There's a actually University of Chicago professor who studies network science, Ron Burt. His books are fantastic, but super, super academic and really hard to get through. But one of the things that he points out with a lot of charts, and you have to read through the lines, but it's the most powerful network is basically are people that are exposed to a different sphere of influence or knowledge than you. That that like we all live in our little bubbles and we think that everybody knows everything that's happening in those bubbles, but the reality, just like you said, you hear from somebody who's just in a different world and you're like, oh my gosh, I could, you know I mean, you want to know more about networking and LinkedIn? Hey, I know a guy, right? And they just might not have ever met me before.
Yeah.
So I love that idea of just kind of showing up and asking people, how can I help? I always love the idea of approaching networking as service, right?
Yeah. Yes, that has to be a part of the conversation. But also think, and I used to lead with this. People would connect with me or I would connect with them. And my initial question was, how can I help you? Because I did want to lead with that service piece. To a certain extent, that's kind of unfair because if they don't yet know me, they don't know how I can help necessarily. So, and I can't help but think of putting my place in a position of somebody who's in a job search, to just show up to a job opportunity and say, well, how can I help you? The interviewer is going to say, well, I don't yet have a sense of your strengths, what you do well, the abilities and whatnot that you're going to bring to this conversation. So, what I try to do now when I am connecting with people on LinkedIn and elsewhere is to give a sense of what my story is and my background and my areas of passion. Of course, after I've ask those same questions of the person I'm talking with, but to give them some sort of context for understanding, okay, now not only am I speaking with somebody who really wants to be of service to me, but I have a better sense of how he might be of service, given his own background and experience. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's also just a wonderful kind of circular reminder as we go out to our network to sometimes put some time, effort even before we go out to like ask ourselves, what do I need right now? Right? What am I looking for? I use job seeking. It's a great example. I've had people come and say, I'm looking for a job. And, I go, okay, well, what kind, in marketing or in sales? I'm like, okay, that's still really broad. I want to help, but the more that they can also then in our conversation be very clear, hey, I'm looking in this kind of industry, or, this is what my skill sets have been in. I'm looking forward to doing that moving forward. It does lead for a better conversation on both sides for sure, right?
And what gets in the way of that good conversation quite often is the lack of self awareness. And I'm really big on knowing yourself before you attempt any relationship, networking or otherwise. I mean,
Yeah.
personal and romantic relationships included. If you don't first know yourself, you can't possibly be of value to other people. And I know I've known people in the job search process, but also in the client, business development
Yeah.
process that are so eager to get out and begin making connections, that they do so before they really have a strong sense of what value they're going to be bringing to that relationship, or what value their product or service is going to bring to the market. And if we can do the legwork initially, the due diligence of understanding ourselves and the value of the products and services that we are bringing into the market, the more productive and compelling our conversations are going to be when we do begin connecting with other people.
Right. The irony is if somebody says that their clients are everybody, it's actually harder to connect them to somebody who's very specific. So I love that
Exactly
idea
right.
of self-awareness. Eric is doing all sorts of amazing stuff. Definitely focused a lot in the HR space, but just known as really as you've heard today, a giver, a powerful network who's helping people out. If you want to connect with him, definitely find him here on LinkedIn. If I can find the right thing to click on, there you go. Find him right here on LinkedIn. Of course, you got to make sure you spell his name right, because I usually get it wrong the first time I type it in, and then I got to go and fix it. But definitely check out Eric, connect with him. Great person to know and have in your network. And of course, September 30th, Networking in the 21st Century and Networking in the 21st Century on LinkedIn. The updated editions are going to be out. We've gotten really great feedback so far about it. I'm super excited about that. And definitely check those out. There's going to be a really cool announcement on September 30th. So make sure that you're tuned in, and we'll let you know what those announcements are. So, Eric, thank you for your time. And everybody, have a fantastic day. Bye.